Is LG's G5 a stroke of genius or a quirky dud?
And how much would you pay to watch Game of Thrones?
Welcome to Vertical Hold, the tech show where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Alex Kidman, and I'm here with a man who still thinks double dissolution involves drinking two types of bourbon, Adam Turner. Adam, what's new in tech?
Australia is set to spend $230 million on cybersecurity under a new plan announced by Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull in the lead up to a likely federal election. The money will mostly be spent recruiting 100 more police and cyber specialists to combat both organised crime and foreign adversaries.
Telstra's extended its free Telstra Air offering to the 30th of September, allowing any Telstra customer to use its national Wi-Fi hotspots as much as they'd like. The deal was originally set to expire at the end of June, with selected plans then getting 10 gig of air usage as a freebie.
For those times when a normal phone call just won't cut it, Facebook messaging is rolling out a new internet telephony feature which lets you invite up to 50 people to a group voice call. I'm not sure exactly when or why you'd want to talk to that many people at once, but it could come in handy if your next family reunion gets washed out.
Apple's refreshed its tiny MacBook line with new Core M processors and colours. So if you've been hanging out for a USB-C only MacBook in rose gold, your prayers have finally been answered. Although Apple's tithes for the new MacBooks start at a sharp $1,999.
So Alex, they've extended the deal on Telstra Air. I'm a Telstra Mobile customer, you're a Telstra Mobile customer. I've never used Telstra Air, have you?
I've used Telstra Air, but I've got to admit, I've basically only used Telstra Air when I've been writing about it, when I've actually had to think, oh, there's a pink thing over there, and I need to connect to it so I can see whether or not it's working on this particular day.
Yeah.
In one sense, it's this weird, almost white elephant-esque product. It's a very good idea in theory. They have a nationwide Wi-Fi network, and especially if you're a Telstra broadband customer and you have one of their specific gateways that connects to Telstra Air, so other people can then use the connection coming into your house, but not your quota. Then you get full access, and you also get access to the FON global network. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
But for the average kind of user, and especially the average mobile user, I'm always struck by the fact that I see that because they're, you can't miss them. They're the bright pink things that they put on top of phone boxes where there are still phone boxes. Most Telstra stores are also Air hotspots, of course, as well. But I'm always struck by the fact when I see them, I just think, oh, well, I could connect to that, but it's going to take a little bit of time to connect to the Wi-Fi. I'm on 4G. I can just do the quick thing that I want while I'm out and about anyway. I suppose if I was a bit more sedentary in front of that phone booth, I might think, oh yeah, I'll use their data instead of mine, but I just don't find myself accessing it. And when I wrote up that they were extending the deal, I had a bunch of people contact me and they were genuinely surprised that Telstra was considering charging for Air anyway. They kind of figured that they'd built it as just an inducement product. And the fact that they've extended this without making any particular hoo-ha about it, they've just gone, oh, yeah, well, that was going to expire in a month or so, but you can have it for another 3 months anyway. Kind of suggests that maybe Telstra's starting to think that way too.
All right, so Alex, you've had a play with the new LG G5 smartphone. Now, I haven't had a look at this thing yet. I've heard it's a modular design. Is it like Lego? Can you pull it into a million pieces and then build it back to be something out of Minecraft?
You've now got me really worried that I'm going to tread on a piece of the G5 in the middle of the night and hurt my foot badly. But that being said, it's a modular design. It's not quite that modular. The way the G5 works is basically the battery comes out, and for LG G3, G4 users, that's nothing new. They've had removable batteries and kept with that as everyone else has dropped them. But it comes out of a compartment at the base, which then allows you to slot other modules in. So they've got a camera grip, and you can connect up. They've got a VR headset. They've got a Bang & Olufsen high-def audio kit. They've got a few things all under this very airy-fairy label of being LG Friends, but they're basically little modules that you add to the G5 to add something to it, which in one sense I think is actually very admirable. I got a little bit of hands-on time as well at Mobile World Congress earlier in the year, but that's always very tricky when there are 20,000 other journalists around you all trying to grab the same phone.
Yeah.
We're a very polite species. So actually having some quiet hands-on time makes a big difference. And the thing that I find interesting here is LG's gone out of its way to say, look, we're actually going to do something different in the phone space. I mean, there is only so much you can do with, with phone glass and with the way people think of phones right now. Until we get those fully flexible phones or virtualized phones or something like that, they're all going to be these slabs of glass and metal, basically. LG, I think, are to be commended for actually trying something different, for saying, hey, yeah, we'll go for a semi-modular thing. This isn't the full-on modular, Google has this Project Ara thing, which has been talking about for years.
Yeah.
This isn't that, because the idea with Ara, as it's been stated to the public, is that you'll actually swap out every single, or potentially every single module in that thing. So if a new processor comes along, you'll just slap that in. LG
or a better camera or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
LG hasn't made noises in that direction. It looks as though there will be a G6. It's just that it's saying, well, these little add-on modules that you can get. And look, I think that's commendable, although the sad truth is that I find the utility and in some cases the quality of the Friends experience, these add-on modules, to be highly variable. So to give you an example, they have a VR headset because it's 2016 and everyone's got to have a VR headset, but it's really not very good. It's way, way too slender. I'm someone who wears glasses, and I just find I can't wear this thing without being able to see the outside world.
I saw shots of this. It looked like it wasn't much bigger than Geordie's headset in a visor in Star Trek.
It's the obvious gag to go for. Yeah, absolutely.
But if it's letting in the world from the top and the bottom, then it's not very immersive, is it?
Yeah, now a non-glasses wearer might find that they're able to slam this thing onto their face a bit more heavily, but yeah, I'm not sold on that. They have a rolling robot, which is kind of cute, but I still don't kind of see the point. Yeah,
the novelty of those things wear off, yeah.
Again, because it's 2016, they've got a 360-degree camera. I've still got to put that really through its paces, but there's nothing intrinsically wrong with a 360-degree camera. They're very much this year's must-have accessory. I am hopeful that everyone making these things will make them interoperable with every other thing, so you don't have to buy the LG one if you've got the LG phone, or the Samsung one if you've got the Samsung phone, and so on ad infinitum. The most useful of the gadgets that I've found so far is actually their little camera grip, which adds both a battery and a dedicated camera button. It's a really nice little bit of kit. And it's definitely, taking advantage of the fact that they can do this and others can't to the same degree. Obviously,
so is it a grip like how you'd hold an SLR?
It's a bump on the back, basically, that slots into the base. If Nokia, years back when they were still doing the Microsoft Lumia phones, we're going back a few years, had, and I'm going to get the model number wrong here, I suspect, I think it was the 1020, which had a camera case, which was very, very similar. You slap the phone into it, it provides a grip bump on the back, somewhere stable to put your finger for taking shots, and extra battery capacity, which is great if you're taking lots of photos.
Yeah.
And that also works in well with one of the G5's other nice little selling points, which is that it's got two cameras on the back, one standard and one wide-angle lens. That's quite handy, although I'm sure some consumers will probably find it a little bit baffling because it's got to change the optics. If you say, I want to go out to the wide-angle lens, there's a little pause and it has to actually refocus from the wide-angle lens. So there's a second or so gap. It's not exactly recommended if you're shooting fast action because you're going to miss something in that sense. So it's this weird mix of stuff they've done really well, stuff that feels like it's a bit version 1, their own UI, which by default, and I mean it's Android, so you can do what you like with it, but their own UI, which is almost kind of iOS-like in that there's no default app drawer. They just slam all the apps to the side, and you can throw them in folders, and you can do the full Android thing with them if you like it. Some people will love that. I'm not a huge fan, but it's okay. And also, for LG, they're hitting us with a relatively high price in Australia.
How much do they want for it?
They want $1,099. Okay. And it's a $649 US phone, so it should come in. I mean, even allowing for currency conversion and GST, it should come in around the $900 mark.
I was going to say, that ain't right. Yeah, that is way off, yeah.
And it's also, I mean, it's a little bit surprising because LG has, in most recent smartphone history, they've had some pretty decent little premium phones. I loved the G3. The G3 was my favourite phone that year. But they've always had them at a slight price cut to other premium smartphones, which I always thought was a great strategy if they could afford to do it. And maybe they can't afford to do it. Maybe this is the price we pay for modularity, that they've got to bump the price up. But bumping the price up just for Australians, I'm not a big fan of that. So, Adam, as seems to happen at this time of year, it's time to break out the winter is coming and nothing Jon Snow puns, because another series of Game of Thrones is imminent. But in Australia, we've really only got one legal way to watch it, don't we?
Yes, it's Foxtel, or Foxtel, pretty much. Although we are fortunate in the last couple of years, we've had two ways to watch it from Foxtel.
Two whole Foxtel varieties. I'm excited.
Foxtel, yeah. Two different ways to give Rupert your money. One way is you can get your traditional Foxtel at home. You sign up for a contract, you get your box, you pay, I think it's $25 to get your foot in the door, and then you pay more on top of that for your package deal with HBO, because it wouldn't be Foxtel if they were making you pay extra to watch, if they weren't making you pay extra for the actual thing you wanted to watch, right? Now, Foxtel Play is an online thing, a little bit the same, but it's a bit like Netflix. There's no lock-in contract. You can watch it on a range of devices, and normally they want $25 to get your foot in the door for Foxtel Play, and then another $20 if you want to watch HBO content like Game of Thrones. What they're doing, and they did this last year as well, is they're dropping the price on that premium movies and drama package to $5 a month. So for the next 3 months, you'll be able to watch Foxtel Play for $30 a month instead of $45 and get Game of Thrones. Except, as usual, they're screwing their existing customers. If you're already signed up for this package, you don't get the discount. You have to either be a new customer, or an existing customer who doesn't have this package, or an existing customer who's had this package, let it lapse, and then got it back. So but the smart thing to do is actually...
It's slightly worse than that. I checked in on this. I checked in on this directly with them. You can't even phone them up and contact them, because this is online, and say, right, well, I'm quitting, and then resubscribe just to get the special pricing. You have to have let it lapse, but they don't seem to have a clear idea on how long you have to have let it lapse before you can get it. What they were clear when I checked with them was, basically, you couldn't duck in and duck back out to get the special pricing. It just can't be done. They won't let you do it.
This is where having multiple Gmail accounts is your friend. This is where you dip in and out, because and Foxtel do this all the time. They've always charged a premium. They've always had problems with churn every month for everyone that signs up, someone else leaves basically, and they do stuff like this and don't look after their loyal customers. These are the people who they want to hang on to. You think even if you knocked $5 a month off for those people, just to say something, yeah, we value you, thanks for hanging around. We know there are other options. There's Netflix, there's the Pirate Bay, there's whatever.
As opposed to thanks for the money, suckers.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I kind of think it's a bit of a short-sighted. And again, there's no other way to get it. A few years ago, what would happen is Game of Thrones would run on Sunday night in the US, which is Monday lunchtime here. And then the next day, Tuesday, iTunes, Google Play, QuickFlix, all the others would be able to sell you that episode for $5 or so. So you'd only have to wait a day or two. Then a new deal came in, I think for last year or for the year before maybe.
It's a couple of years old, yeah.
Yeah, they are not allowed to sell any of those episodes until Foxtel sold the whole thing. So until Foxtel's shown the whole thing. So until the middle of June, when Foxtel shows the 10th and final episode for this season, it's not until then that iTunes can sell you even the first episode. And even then, Apple might not, because a couple of years ago they spat the dummy and wouldn't sell it to you when the season finished, and tried to say that it was the distributor's fault because they weren't allowed to sell it. And when I rang the distributor and asked them, they said, well, that's funny because everyone else is allowed to sell it. If Apple won't sell it to you, that's their fault. And they held out for months with no explanation, just because they wanted to have this little, power struggle with
Apple
HBO.
Not commenting on rumour and speculation. I, for one, am shocked.
Yeah, I too was shocked. So I don't think they did it last year, and I doubt they'll do it this year. They wanted to make their little point, because Apple wants to be a player. It wants to own every market. It's got its eye on this content space. So it knows that HBO and Netflix are going to become some of its biggest competitors rather than its partners. Now, if you're not feeling quite so playing by the rules in Australia, one of the options you can have, apart from going straight to the Pirate Bay and just stealing it, is to basically bluff your way into HBO Now, which is HBO's equivalent of Foxtel Play. It's an online subscription service. Until now, that's kind of been tricky, because the only way to get into HBO's streaming service was to have a home HBO account. Now, there were forums where you could go online and find someone in the US who would sell you access to their account, but generally that sort of kept you out. This time last year, just in time for Game of Thrones, they launched their new subscription service for $15 a month that doesn't require a home subscription. So if you can sneak past the guards and convince them that you're a Yank and get them to take your money, you can watch Game of Thrones that way. But you're only saving a couple of bucks. It's more than 20 by the time you convert it. I reckon it's probably not worth the hassle to save maybe $5 a month.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are some problems with Foxtel Play. It's standard def. They limit the way you can use it across a couple of other devices. So it doesn't support AirPlay, for example, which really sucks if you've got an Apple TV and you're running it off a tablet. Having said that, and I'm going to go slightly devil's advocate here, because I've already heard people say, oh, well, I'm not paying them $30 a month to watch Game of Thrones. That's too much. I think that's slightly rich thinking. If you think about it in terms of a movie, the average movie ticket these days is anywhere between about $15 and $20.
Oh, and the rest. Shit, I don't know where you go to the movies.
Just for the ticket. I'm just talking the ticket. And you can certainly pay a lot more, and in some cheaper cinemas you can pay a lot less.
Yeah.
Let's call it $15 a movie.
I've become a fan of Tight Ass Tuesday recently when I've realised how much it costs to go to the movies.
You're a freelance journalist. We all have to be tight asses.
Yes.
But leaving that aside, $15 a movie, so call that 2 hours of movie. Some are longer, some are shorter. So that's $30 a month to see 2 movies. Well, there's your 4 episodes of Game of Thrones, plus whatever else you want to watch. You watch one more thing and you're ahead.
Yeah, that's
and
the
people
thing.
do that quite happily. People go to the cinema quite a lot, quite happily. I don't see this as bad value. There are problems with it, but I can't see this kind of pricing at bad value. Could it be cheaper? Yes. Would that be, nicer, more affordable, all the rest of it? Well, yeah, but, it's a capitalist consumer market. You charge what the market will bear. No one's got the explicit rights to this stuff. And I find the whinging about pricing per se to be a little annoying. There are other problems, yes, but the pricing, I really just don't see it. That just about wraps it up for this episode of Vertical Hold. Remember, if you've got any comments, hit us up in the comments section on YouTube, via Twitter, or the Facebook Vertical Hold page.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button.